to Inside Personal Growth Podcast. Deep dive with us as we unlock the secrets to personal development, empowering you to thrive. Here, growth isn't just a goal, it's a journey. Tune in, transform, and take your life to the next level by listening to just one of our podcasts. Well, welcome back to Inside Personal Growth. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. And joining me from Chicago is Donzel Leggett. Donzel, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Greg. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Actually, my name's pronounced Donzel, but I'm so used to everyone calling me Donzel.
All right.
Plus, it reminds people of Denzel, and hey, it's always good associated with
Denzel Washington would be good. Yeah, you kind of look like him. So, and we're going to be talking about his new book called Make Your Destiny Happen. He's just got the proof copy, but so for all my listeners who are hearing this on YouTube, you will see we'll also have a book flash across the screen. For all of you listening on the podcast, you can't see it anyway, but you'll see the book jacket when we post that to all the podcasts. So, we appreciate having you on. Let me let the listeners know he's an extraordinary guest. And as I said, he's joining us from Chicago area. Author of this new transformative book, due out when, Denzel?
August 26th.
26. So right around the corner from the recording of this. But after decades of leadership experience at Fortune 500 companies, guiding high-performing teams across continents from America to Asia, Latin America, Europe, he has distilled his hard-earned wisdom into the powerful blueprint for personal transformation. We're living in a world now where many of us feel like it's happening to us rather than feeling in control of our own destiny. And what Denzel is going to do is he's going to give us a book and some ideas on how to create that change that we need in our life. So he owns Destiny Development Delta. This is the company that he has. And you can get to his website just by going DevelTA.com. There you're also going to see that he's got a brand new podcast. He was telling me he's on his third episode, so congrats on that. And the podcast is called Make Your Destiny Happen Podcast, and you can check him out. As I said, we're all kind of living in a world of ambiguity at these times. We need a little help. And this just isn't another self-help book filled with empty promises. It's a practical, actionable guide born from real experience, vulnerability, and purpose. What makes Denzel approach unique to how he combines relatable personal stories with a clear, articulated system that helps readers break free from the cycle of feeling stuck and take command of their future. His framework will empower you to rise after failure, find clarity in chaos, and design a destiny that's authentically your own. As one of the endorsers put it, this is more than a book. It's a call to action for anyone ready to break free from limitation. Whether you're just starting your career or looking to transition from success to significant, Denzel's insights will help you envision your destiny, establish a life and a plan. So, Denzel, welcome to the show. You've got quite a book and quite a story. So let's start with that because, you know, everybody has a story and it's important to them and it should be important to other people because that's how we learn about other people. You quit college football in your senior year and it was a decision that kind of shocked everybody. Take us back to that moment. What was going through your mind when you walked away from something you'd worked really for years to get to and decided, no, I'm giving it up?
Yeah, again, Greg, thank you for having me. And your introduction, wow. It's almost like you did the podcast all yourself for me. I mean, everything you put up there,
Are we done or this is done? Okay, everybody, we're done. 3 minutes.
pretty good. Hey, I really appreciate it. I really do. And you're right. You know, the decision to walk away from college football and not play my fifth year, that was a difficult call. And it was a seminal moment in my life because it really forced me to have to think about what I truly wanted. Sometimes, you know, as we're growing up, especially as young people, we have ideas about what we should do. But not all the time are those ideas genuinely ours. Sometimes there are things that people expect you to do or what you think you're supposed to do, not necessarily what you want to do. And for a long time, I really wanted to play college football and professional football. That's what I thought. But as my career went on, as injuries started to mount, and as I really started thinking about what is it that I want out of my life, I realized that that wasn't it, and it became a decision that I had to make. Now, like I said, part of it was spurred on by the fact that I had several injuries, and those injuries were taking their toll. But I knew that there was a choice I could make, and there are a lot of guys I play with that made different choices. I could have maybe done some different things to get through those injuries and maybe have a more negative effect on my long-term physical well-being, and even my mental well-being. But the bottom line is it came down to what do I really want to do long term? And I felt like I could make a bigger difference, not only in my life, but in the lives of so many others if I really focused my attention, number one, on my studies, number two, on making sure that I was truly being myself authentically, and that I was setting myself up to be the best leader that I could be long term. And I felt like moving on and making that decision at that time was the best thing for me to do. And it was funny because getting the decision was hard, but once I made it, it was like, the waters parted, the
Right.
sea parted, and there was this whole new world ahead of me, and I never looked back.
Well, just had a really cool interview with Dr. Jim Lohr. He's a performance coach, and he started I'm trying to remember the huge company that Johnson and Johnson brought out around performance coaching. And you used to coach CEOs, and it's interesting. The book is called Wise Decisions,
Yeah.
and he talks about, and this is something that I'm sure you accessed, your Yoda inside of you. You have to learn how to be intuitive and listen to the Yoda that's going to help you make the decision. And I think what's important is if everybody can take a moment to reflect, you're being guided all the time. It's just that you're not listening. So when you tune into the right channel, you'll get the message and you'll feel okay about the decision, right?
Yes.
Now, you're going to get feedback from other people. They're going to say, oh, no, Denzel, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. In the end, it's your decision
Right.
and you get to live with it. Now, one of the things you mentioned in your book, you became a father at 24. Well, that's not so young, but it is a seminal moment for you. You said it was a transformation. How did holding your newborn son literally change your trajectory of your entire life? Because I think I was a father at 24 too, to be honest with you. I was either 24 or 26.
Let me comment on Yoda first, because Yoda is one of my leadership sort of icons, and there's two comments that Yoda makes that really impact me and make me think and are reflected kind of in the book in my philosophy. One is be mindful, and that can be left up to interpretation. But my interpretation is not enough people take the time to think, to just sit back and think about their future and about making wise decisions and what the impact those decisions are. And that to me is what being mindful is. We rush through life without taking the time to sit back, whether you want to call it, uh, uh, whether it's taking the time to reflect or whether it's taking the time to meditate. To me, it's simply thinking about the future, about the decisions I'm making and where I really want to be and how that's going to make me feel. So be mindful and then do or do not. There is no try.
Right.
There is no such thing as try, right? So if you want to do something, you do it. It may not work. You get knocked down, you get up, you do it again, or you make an adjustment. You learn from that and you just keep going forward. So be mindful and do or do not. And then for me, it wasn't holding my son. It was the moment I realized that it was a reality that my girlfriend was having a baby.
Mhm.
That's the moment I remember. And I literally, because I'd had plans for what I wanted to do. And so when she communicated, "Hey, this is real," and that reality hit me, it was I literally remember she told me on the phone, and I just fell back on my bed at my parents' house. I was home visiting, and literally I sat there, laid there, and thought about, "Okay, It's time to grow up.
Mhm.
24 sounds like a late age, but, a lot of, even today, a lot of kids aren't even they're not having children till 32, 33, 35. So 24 was for me, I was not anticipating it. But right then, I made the decision, life's gotta change. And everything I'd been planning to do, that was more related to, I'd say, self, aggrandizement, all went away, and it immediately became, "Here's what I have to do for my family going forward." That's what happened to me in that moment. And it was another, again, similar moment, like walking away from football. That moment was probably one of the biggest ones that changed my view and really made me focus on being mindful, what destiny I want to have. And back to Yoda, there is no such thing as trial. I'm not going to try to be a good father. I'm not going to try to be a good, I'm going to do it. And that's what happened to me in that moment.
Well, they say, God has plans for us when we're thinking about other plans, right? So the point
Yeah.
is that your wife gets or your girlfriend gets pregnant,
Yes.
and you now have this son.
And I had something to do with it. Just so I would
That's
have,
right.
it wasn't just she got married. I had a lot to do with it.
I know it wasn't immaculate conception. We'll say that for certain. So, look, you make a point of this in the book. You grew up in Key West. You had incredible women in your life as family members and leaders. Your great grandmother, you said, was 106 and she was still babysitting you. 106. It's like, wow, we should all live so long. And obviously, to still be babysitting you at 106. What's the most important, powerful lesson that these strong women taught you that you carry today that actually helped you make your destiny happen?
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you a quick story about my great grandmother. So she actually was babysitting me in her 80s. She died at 107, so she lived to be over 100 years old. So
Wow.
just a great, great, strong person. But just to give you a perspective of how strong she was as a presence, I mean, she was probably 5'1", 5'2", and maybe at 140 pounds. I mean, to put it in perspective, by the time I was 14, I was already 6'5" and 240 pounds. I was big. Big, big kid. And but she demanded respect. And so she was a person that would look up at me and make her points. And I understood if I didn't listen, there would be consequences. And I didn't want those consequences. So I listened to my great grandmother when she said something. It was like E.F. Hutton. For the young people who don't remember, when E.F. Hutton talks, you listen. But the lessons I learned from it, I articulate in this book, and there are a couple that really were clear for me. And that was the first one is, nobody was better than me. That's what my great grandmother, my grandmother would always tell me. Nobody's better than you, but you're not better than anybody else either. The difference is going to be how hard you're going to work because they had to work hard. Neither of my grandmother, my great grandmother got to even get to high school. They had to quit school to work. They didn't have the opportunities that I had. And so they instilled in me, you have the opportunity to do something great, but it only going to happen if you work hard. So take their work ethic, couple that with education, and nothing can stop me. But then the other lesson they taught me was wherever you go, no matter how high you get or what you accomplish, remember your position in society is what you earn by how you treat others.
Mhm.
It's not based on you being a vice president or you being the mayor or you're being in whatever some big job. You could be like my grandmother, who was a maid, and be highly respected in the community because of your deeds. So it was work hard. Don't think you're better than anybody else, but make sure that you carry yourself with confidence and achieve based on your hard work, but bring others with you. Do everything you can to help others. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. I see that there's so many people that, like you said, feel stuck, feel held back, feel defeated, feel small. I want everyone to know you can achieve your destiny. You can create your agency. It's there for you. I want to help people do that.
Well, in your destiny development delta model, you talk about the cycle of no destiny control.
Yes.
Uh, and you describe people as either flywheel hamsters, you said,
Yep.
floating dandelions, or head in the sand ostriches, right?
Yes.
So, which one were you before your transformation? And which one do most people listening right now, you know, that want to probably become, right?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I was in just a quick summary, the hamster and the flywheel are people who, really they believe they have a plan to move forward, but they don't really believe in it. They haven't authentically done the work to know what I wanna do, right? So they have a kind of a plan, but it's not an authentic plan because they don't really believe in it. They don't have hope. And then the folks who are kind of the dandelions, they just wait for someone to tell them what to do, and they do that. And then if that doesn't work, they wait for someone else to tell them, or they read an article. Oh, I should do this. That kind. So they're always kind of taking the path that of chance, where they leave everything in chance. And then the folks who kind of have their head in the sand, they're just so afraid that no matter what they do, it's going to fail. So they don't really want to do anything. They just want to hopefully stay safe and not try anything. And then by doing that, they don't go anywhere. Where I was is I was a person who, again, I thought I had a plan, but it wasn't an authentic plan. I mentioned I want to play in the NFL, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. Those were not my authentic plans. I did not do the authentic work of getting to know myself, and really being mindful of what my future needed to be.
Mhm.
So I was working, doing a lot of stuff, doing a lot of hard work, but it wasn't leading to any specific direction. So I had to break out of that cycle in those seminal moments I talked about, leaving football, birth of my son. But then there was a point where I said to myself, when my wife and I were getting married, I gotta actually lay things out for myself. And I laid out a life plan up until I was 65. I was 26 at the time, 25 at the time, laid out a 40-year plan. And in that plan, I had to ask myself, what do I really want to do? And I forced myself to write down milestones all the way up to 65, stating this is where I wanted to be, this is what I wanted to do. That forced me into the reality of being mindful about my future. And at that point, I had an authentic plan that I could really believe in. And that's what broke me out of that cycle. Most people, and I've had one-on-one meetings with over 10,000 people. I've spent over 100,000 hours talking to people. So I have a lot of experience in kind of where most people stand. And I'd say most people fall into one of these three categories.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Common one, though, is the most common one is the dandelion.
Mhm.
It's because a lot of people don't really have the confidence or the knowledge at the time, or really feel like they know enough to make a decision. It is scary sometimes, especially for young people, to think 20 years ahead, 30 years ahead, 40 years ahead. Um, and so they tend to I'll just do what my dad did. I'll just do what my mom did.
Well, I
That's
think we
or
find I
do
think
that.
you as a performance coach, and somebody who's talking to people, the the floating dandelions are inertia, right?
Yes,
It literally, to make this destiny happening, it isn't just work. It's you've got to prepare all aspects of your human soul, your
absolutely.
mind, your body, your spirit, everything, right?
Yes,
And they have to work in unison for you to be cognizant. And you use this concept of a caterpillar versus a chameleon.
yes,
And explain this to someone who's tired of just changing colors.
yeah,
It's really scared to death of the crystallis phrase because look, you worked in big companies. You've gone through change management programs. We know 85% of change management programs fail.
yes,
So do 85% of personal growth plans. That means only 15%
yes.
there.
That's
But
right.
there are formulas that you can use and mindsets you can use and things you can apply after doing a podcast on personal growth for 18 years now. I've heard them all. And the
Yes.
reality is, it is, as you know, Denzel, about application of all of these elements. So
Yep.
tell our listeners who are scared right now to go through that phase, how can they eliminate that fear?
Yeah, it starts with, inspiring yourself. One of the reasons why changes and even people call them transform they're not truly transformations fail, is there's not alignment on what the true objective is and how important it is to the people. So as an individual, if you truly want to transform, you and it gets back to this idea of be mindful of what your future holds and what you want it to hold. If you can't motivate yourself and inspire yourself with where I want to be in the future, what are the goals I want to accomplish? You have to think through that. Spend the time and make sure you identify it. And I'm in the book, I have a process to help you do that. But by doing that, you then have something to shoot for and strive for. If it's just because someone told you to change, someone told you to transform, or because you think, well, this person's doing it, I should. It can't come from, it's got to be your own personal agency that's going to drive you to make that transformation because it is hard. It is hard to do. The difference between change and transformation is change is just making some behavioral adjustments. But when the things, kind of get tough, you go right back to the old behaviors. A transformation is completely changing the way you are. And the way to do that is again, I want this other thing. I want to be here in the future. I want to have this. I want to have this kind of life. I want to have my well-being be strong. And this is how it looks. And to get there, I've got to make a drastic transformation. That motivates you to keep going because there are going to be days where you're not going to want to do it. There's going to be days you're not going to want to continue to make the adjustments, continue to develop yourself. You need that motivation to keep you moving forward. So it starts with identifying what you truly want and making sure that you've talked to yourself and made the agreement with yourself, I'm going to strive to make that happen. Then you make the plan and then you actively follow that plan.
What did you, Denzel, do? I've done interviews numerous with Marshall Goldsmith, who
Yeah.
talks about this. We achieve, and it's good to achieve. But along the way, happiness eludes a lot of those people.
Yes.
Contentment eludes a lot of those people because they are high strivers, they're achiever. They get all the things that money will buy.
Right.
But in the end, they don't get the happiness. They've been through a couple divorces. They've lost certain things, family members. They've alienated relationships. I
Yep.
mean, I know people's actually speak about Steve Jobs a lot when this comes up, right? Like, hey, he was a tough guy and he was hard to get along with and he was unhappy and he, whatever else you want to say. The point is, we need to have this attitude and mindset and physical ability to achieve, but we also need to learn how to understand how to live in unison with the other things. Like, it doesn't always turn out the way we expect it. We have these grand expectations, but the reality is, as I said, sometimes God has a different plan. You have to be okay with that. So, how did you kind of deal with that as you 24 gave up football, you have all these strong leaders around you. How did you manage to do it and get to the point you are in your life today and still keep this balance with happiness and contentment?
Yeah. So I developed the life plan, and in that life plan, it was all specific to what did I want to achieve in life and what would make me happy. And I sat down with my wife and we talked about, hey, here's what I want to do. What do you want to do? And how does that fit? And let's see if we can come together on a plan where both of us are going to be achieving the things we want and the happiness and balance that we want in life. And so once we did that, I just started activating my plan. I made decisions, when it was time for an advancement opportunity. I made it very clear, hey, I'll take this opportunity, but here's what comes with it. I'm going to need time for my family. I want to coach my son. I want to be there for my daughter. I want to do this. I want to do, I'm not going to live in certain places that's going to put my family at risk or cause me to have to be away for too many things. So I put those parameters in.
You set boundaries.
Yeah, I set boundaries,
Yeah,
right?
you set boundaries with the
Yes.
people that wanted you to do the position. And
That's
I
right.
think that's important.
That's important.
You
But the
have
most
to
important
speak
thing,
your truth.
yes, but the most important thing is deciding what is achievement for me. And that's where people get kinda screwed up, and that's why the dandelion tends to be the most common, because people tend to associate success of others with success for them,
Mhm.
and that necessarily isn't the case. You have to decide what level of achievement you want, what do you wanna do, and what's the balance for happiness for you. So in my podcast you mentioned, I talk about my dad. Me and my dad were very different. But the one thing I talk about that's very specific to him is he was extremely happy and content with his life.
Mhm.
He was not a guy that looked to strive to the ultimate achievement. That was not his intent. To him, happiness was he having the balance he wanted in his life and his own well-being. And if you didn't agree with that, that's on you. He didn't care. As long as he was happy, what was important to him. And so to me, that's I took that lesson and said, you know what? It's not about what someone else's definition of achievement is. It's what mine is and how that fits in with my own personal well-being and my own balance in my life. Everyone has to find that for themselves. And what I believe one of the reasons why 85% of these self-help programs don't work for most people is because they're taking the success definition of what someone else says is success and trying to apply it to them. Again, instead of identifying what truly is success for them.
Yeah,
What
listen to the voice inside. Look, you get pretty practical in this book, and you spend, as you say, 147 minutes a day, uh, and that most people spend on social media, scrolling it, going through it, right?
Yes.
And instead, you dedicate it to personal development. Okay,
Yes.
so 147 minutes, 60 and 60 is 120. It's about 2.5 hours, right?
Yes.
So, what does your daily development delta routine actually look like? So, again, for my listeners, this is Denzel's one. What
Yes.
he's saying is take the pieces that apply to you put them into your life, but here's one that he's going to tell you or inform you of that could help you.
Yes.
What is it? What does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's reading is the first thing that I tend to do. So I try not to uh, spend a lot of time on social media. I'm marketing a book right now, and so you're going to see that there's some things I'm putting out there. But I do not spend a lot of time scrolling social media. I spend time reading to learn. So I'll spend 30 minutes just kind of perusing the news of the day. I'll spend another 30 minutes learning about technology. So there's news headlines, but then there's technology. So one of the things I want to learn about, I want to learn more about cryptocurrency because I don't know a lot about it. So every morning, I'll spend about 30 minutes learning about just reading about cryptocurrency, understanding how it works, that type of thing. So I spend another 30 minutes trying to pick up new information that I haven't had before. So an example of that might be in the new place that we live, we have a lot of trees in our yard, a lot more. Growing up in Key West, we had a lot of palm trees, we had a lot of tropical fruit trees, but not a lot of what I call
Oak
big
trees.
hard oaks, things like that, nothing like that. So I spend time out here, and this is something me and my wife can do together because she has a lot of passion about this, asking about and learning about the trees, looking up the trees, trying to understand what's specific about them, that type of thing. I spent time learning about history. Why do I do that? Because I think it's important to learn from our past to apply to our future. So I'll learn about things like, well, now I understand that it's no longer when I was growing up, there was a linear sort of evolution of the human species. Now there's a multiple human species that have been identified. Why is that important? It's important to learn and expand our thought process. So I tend to try to figure out as many things as I can. And then what I try to do is also pick up knowledge and information to make myself physically better. I'm getting older, so I'm always trying to figure out, okay, how can what are some new developments that are happening on joint health, that type of thing. Then I'll spend another 10, 15, 20 minutes sometimes brushing up on languages. Going in and learn, I can speak a little bit of Spanish, I can speak a little Portuguese. So I'll go and spend time re-looking up.
Speak a little Mandarin too, don't you? Didn't you have a funny thing
I
like
can say a few words. I can pronounce things well in Mandarin. The vocabulary in the script is very, very difficult. So that just gives you a taste of kind of what I try to do across a day. And that doesn't include if I meet someone interesting, like a Greg Voisen or someone like that, I'm gonna pick up the phone maybe or hey, Greg, tell me a little bit about this, this, and this to learn more about you and
So
see.
are you journaling, Denzel? Are you doing a gratitude thing? Are you doing yoga every day? Do you meditate? What other things do you put in that 147 minutes? Sounds like you spend a lot of it learning.
Yeah, I
Uh,
do.
okay.
I walk a lot. So, to me, walking is part of meditation. So when I'll walk about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half a day, kind of speed walking. But while I'm walking, I'm thinking. There's a lot of research around, kind of human evolution and running and walking. Back when we had to be hunter gatherers, everyone, you had to process information and think and learn and make the judgments on the run. So walking actually spurs our creativity and our thinking. Some of my greatest ideas come just walking. I spent
Do you look for signs and symbols along the way?
I tend to look more for, again, I'm thinking, so I'm also always thinking about ideas, but I tend to be looking more around, appreciating nature when I'm walking.
Okay, that's good.
It Yeah, I just feel like it's one of those things where don't let the grass grow, and, take your time and see it. You know what I mean? And so look
I just wanted to give you a little tip because I've had so many people on this show. And from a
Yes.
spiritual aspect, if you're walking an hour and a half a day, you're seeing stop signs and road signs and this and that and other signs and for sale signs, and you're seeing signs, you're seeing birds, you're seeing butterflies, you're seeing things. If you stop for a minute and you reflect on what you've seen, the reality is the universe is sending you a message.
Yeah.
And I believe in this truly because you can look at something and you can go, oh, well, why did I see that? What was it? So you saw a stop sign. Maybe something was going on that you needed to help make a decision. Could I make the correlation between that sign that really triggered me, whatever it might be? So, look, you talk about inspiring people to rise to their own bar rather than
Yeah.
motivating them. What's the difference? And how did you turn around that struggling manufacturing plant when you were working there with this approach? Because inspiring people to rise to their own bar is different, as you say, than motivating them.
Yeah. Yeah. So the key is helping people, number one, see that there is a possibility greater than maybe what they thought before, and then giving them a reason to strive for that without telling them either one. And so that's where people when you so it's kind of motivation in a way, but you're not actively motivating. Sometimes people think active motivation is what they saw in the movies, where they have a coach that gets up in front of the team and gives them a big motivational talk. We got to go win the game, that type of thing. Newt Rockney and all this kind of thing, and that works for a short period of time. When you have people that have been working at the same job for 30 years, 40 years, they've heard the talks. They've had the pep talk. That's not gonna work, right? So there's gotta be something else. And so what I did, at the plant was not intended to go out and tell people to do something different. It was simply caring for people, listening to people, treating people as if they cared or as if they were individuals, not numbers. Even though there were 400 people in the area, not treating them as one monolithic group, going out and getting to know each one of them, understanding who their family was, what was important to them. Just taking the time to do that. I didn't talk about we got to get better. We got to turn this thing around. I was 26 years old. I was really just trying to get to know people and show them that I cared and trying to find ways to make their jobs easier and better. But because I did that, they then saw with different eyes where we were.
Right.
And they saw that, wow, we should be much better. And we like this guy. We'd like him to stay around. And it's on us to step up our performance to prove to everyone that we can do better if we have leaders that care about us.
Mhm.
That's why they rose the bar. It was because the way I treated them that inspired them to do something different, to identify that, hey, we can outperform and we're going to outperform because we want to show this is the way we should be treated. That's what caused everyone to raise their own bar. And so sometimes it's not about the speech you give. It's, do you really care about people? Do you really want those people to succeed? And why? And
Well,
what makes
one of the old
that feeling come through
statements
for them?
one of the old statements, Denzel, is People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? We've
Absolutely.
sometimes heard that. If I had $1 for every time I've said this on a podcast, I'd be a rich man. The reality is that it's it is so important. They don't want to know that you know everything. They want to know that you care about them. And when you, whether it's in sales or whatever it might be, or you're running a plant, that's the most important thing. Now,
And it's authentic care. It's authentic. People
yeah,
have to feel it. And what I've seen over the course of my career is if you are truly authentic, and if you are truly assured in yourself, and you really do care about people, people can feel it, whether you speak their language or not. And I learned to speak some Spanish, some Portuguese. I can say a few words in Mandarin, but for the most part, many of the times I was in these countries and working with these folks that were on my team, I couldn't speak the language, but they could feel that I cared about them.
right,
Authentic.
right,
If you
right.
are authentic with the way that you really care about people, it will translate across languages.
Well, it's so important. And you've kept a poem in front of your computer for 30 years. It's called Person in the Glass
Yes.
Model. You keep this poem by your computer for 30 years. It's got to have significant meaning for you. So,
It
if
does.
you would read us your favorite line and tell us about a time it stopped you from making a decision that you might have regretted.
Yeah, it's the last line that basically says something about you can't fool the person in the glass. You can fool everyone else as you go and as you walk throughout your over the course of your past. You can, create a false narrative. But when you look at the person in the glass, you can't fool that person. The person in the glass knows the truth. And that ultimately is what it comes down to. Can I look at myself in the mirror every day and feel good? You mentioned earlier, it's not about achievement sometimes. It's about how do you feel? And how do you make people around you feel? And I can't speak to Steve Jobs or any of these other people. All I can speak about is me. And when I look in the glass, I want to be able to have it reflect back the character of me, that I am still who I was at 25 years old, at 30 years old, at 35. I'm the same guy in terms of my character. Now, I've learned a lot more. So there's no question I'm different from that standpoint. My character is the same. And if people who have known me over the course of those years, they would say that I'm that same guy. The same guy that cares about people, that tells the truth, that makes decisions to help people, that will stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. So to me, that is the true test of that poem. And that's what the guy's name was Phil that gave me that poem when I was promoted for the first time. And the people in the plant fought for me to get that promotion. He gave that to me. He said, we did that because of who you are. This poem, read it, keep it anywhere you can near you so that you never change. And that's what I think about when I think about that poem and look at the mirror every day and I still feel great. I know the decisions that I've made that have been all about character, not about achievement. I could have more money. I could have achieved more. I made decisions not to for my character and for people.
Well, look, one of the things you did, and you mentioned it in the book, is, and I'm actually disappointed you didn't make Congress because you would have been a great congressman. And actually, we might have been able to get something done with somebody like you in Congress. But you ran and you came with 116 votes winning.
Yes.
Um, any political aspirations left, or you focus on transforming lives one person at a time now?
I am really focused on transforming lives one person at a time.
Too bad. I thought we'd get you back on the Congress trail.
I thought about it long and hard, but I really feel like I can make a bigger impact working outside of that formal system. It's a very difficult system to work within,
Yeah.
and I have a lot more freedom to work outside of that system and work directly with people across the aisle. And so many of the stories that I have in the book talk about people who we may have been completely different and on different ends of the spectrum and had different character beliefs, but just because they were able to work with me and get to know me and see how I operate, it changed their entire view. And I feel like I can have that kind of impact as I talk to people, as people read the book, as I interact with them. I can, and I've had this happen in the course of my history. I can help people to see a different reality, not only for themselves, but for society, and to help them make their lives better. And that's really what I want to do, and that's what I'm focused on. Helping individuals transform their lives to achieve their agency and achieve their destiny.
Well, you're doing a great job of it. And I think for somebody listening right now and thinking, this sounds great, but I'm 35, 45, 55, and I feel stuck. What's the first thing they should do today to start this transformation process? In other words, they're saying, "Hey, maybe I'm too old. We want some actionable advice from your book." And what would you tell them to help them make their destiny happening because they feel like, hey, I'm too old to do this now, or it's not the right time. There's never a wrong time. I know you're going to say that, but what would you advise people today to do?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I would say, I mean, the book's not out yet, but August 26th, get the book, read the book, because I think there's a lot that, there's no simple one answer in terms of do this one thing. The book lays out several steps with that you can follow, that you should follow. But if there's one thing that you should do, that everyone should do, and like I said, I've spent 100,000 hours with 10,000 different individuals, and I can tell you most of them don't do that. So over 90% of people just don't do this. And that is take the time to be mindful. Going back to Yoda, to think about what do you truly want authentically? What do you want for your life? What would make you the most happy? What would make you the most content? Um, and define it. Write it down. And it doesn't have to be a perfect sentence. Just write down the things that come to your mind. That's the first step you have to take. And it doesn't matter how old you are, what your age is, how young you are, what doesn't none of that matters. All that matters is if you take the time to really get in touch with yourself, be authentic, and here's what's important to me. Then you can start the process of figuring out what steps do I have to take to make that happen? What changes do I have to make for me to transform to make this happen? But it all starts with you have to define what's important to you. As Greg said before, it's not about achievement. It's what are the achievements that you want? What
Mhm.
makes you happy? Don't try to be the next Jeff Bezos. Don't try to be the next whoever, insert a name.
Be yourself.
What if be yourself and get to know who you are. Sometimes we fool ourselves with who we think we are. You gotta sit down and really answer the tough questions. Who really am I? And what really do I want? What's important to me? Those are important questions. There's tough. I don't get me wrong. It's hard to do, but you have to do it. That's the first step if you wanna transform and you wanna take charge of your destiny and make whatever time you have left happen. And remember, none of us know how much time we have left. That's why it gets back to it doesn't matter how old you are. People ask me all the time, "Why are you working so hard?" "Hey, man, something could happen to you tomorrow." Yeah, it can. But I would rather be on track to making my destiny happen, and something happens to me tomorrow and it doesn't okay, great. I was on track. I felt good. My well-being is strong. What I don't want is to wait 10 years because I thought something was gonna and nothing happened, and I'm still in the same place I was 10 years ago. That's what we don't want. So please, if you're listening, you're watching this, take the time to get to know yourself, authentically identify what you want out of life.
Very well said, Denzel. And again, I want to direct the listeners to your website. It's Destiny, DEVDELTA. Also, there where you'll see it, a bar about the podcasts. These are little 5 and 6 minute episodes filled with actionable insight. So go click the button. You can also just type in anywhere on your browser, Make Your Destiny Happening podcast, and you'll be able to get there as well. So,
Absolutely. And Greg, I'll just interrupt you again. For those who are watching, here's the book again. The title's Make Your Destiny Happen. And for those who are listening, you can also get to my website by going makemydestinyhappen.com. That will also take you to the web, makeyourdestinyhappen.com. That will take you to the website as well. So if you type in Make Your Destiny Happen, you type in my name, you type in Destiny Dev Delta, you're going to find some information. It'll come up.
well, you're truly helping people by giving them the opportunity, as you said, to be mindful, reflect, Look at what it is that they need to do and who they need to become. How do they need to transform their character as an individual? I've always said this: if somebody took a camera for 24 hours, a video, and followed you around, how much of it as it's played back to you would you like?
Yes,
Okay. And if you see things you don't like, those are the actions that you're taking that you want to modify.
that's
Okay.
right.
And
That's
it's
right.
very easy when you observe what you do every day to change what you do, but you have to actually be aware of what it is you're doing. The camera makes you aware. Now, I'm saying most people, they're not going to have someone run around with a camera and do a reality TV show of them, but it really shows who your character is. You are a wonderful individual and person, and I want to thank you for being on the show, taking this time to expose our listeners to your new book, Hold It Up Again. Make Your Destiny Happen. It's coming out, as he said, the 26th. We'll put a link in the show notes below when you're watching this to not only his website, but to Amazon and to his LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to him. There's a contact us button there. You can book speaking with him. He can come into your company and work with your employees. There's many areas that Denzel can work in. So thanks so much for being on the show. Namaste to you. Thanks for this time to spend some time with my listeners.
Thank you so much, Greg. It was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for all the deep research you did. It really makes a pleasure. And your introduction, man, was perfect, right on point. It's like, wow, that's pretty awesome to hear. I thank you for all your positive comments and all your support. And for the listeners, thank you for your time and your ears. Much appreciated.
Thank you. You have a good rest of your day.